everybody keeps pointing to it. Blake Corum. They just bring in the Michigan dude and just bring him in, and then like, well, now you have a replication of Gus Edwards. So do you kind of split that kind of similar work? You keep talking for a second. I got to grab a towel. Barkley's so upset about the signing today. She pissed on the carpet. So hold on 1 second while I get a towel.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog Fantasy. Code Mayo at Underdog right now will get you a first-time match deposit of up to $100. NFL best ball drafts are already going, and you can probably react to the news that we're not necessarily breaking, but talking about right now, and really leverage yourself well. So code Mayo at Underdog to get that match deposit. All right, Jake Ciely from theathletic.com is on the line right now. Sir, do you have an Underdog account?
I do have an Underdog account, so maybe I need Nicole to sign up so we can get that deposit match again.
Yeah, you get Nicole to sign up for that and get the first time deposit. Get like $10 in there, something like that. But here's what you can do. So if you're out there already and you already have an Underdog account, it's all good. I may have something for you. That if you take a survey, it's down in the description right now. It takes around 15 seconds to fill out. So all new first-time depositors using code Mayo or existing people with Underdog accounts already can go into this survey. You fill out that survey, takes 15 seconds. You are in a draw for 5 $1,000 prizes. There are 5 of them that I'm giving away Sunday, March 17th, and you could be one of those lucky people if you take the 15 seconds to go fill this out. And I'm not actually doing the draw, Jake. So that means that technically you can win this if you fill it out.
I was just about to say, can I get in this also? The 17th was when we're going to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary because it's Monday and she has an away game that she's coaching soccer. So that would be a great anniversary present. Just saying.
Wait,
now
17th? Wait, I thought the 17th was Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Sunday is the giveaway.
Yeah, Sunday's the giveaway, although now it's going to look like it's staged if I win. But it's Nicole, so it doesn't matter. No, the 18th is our anniversary. She's going, she'll be gone, so we have to celebrate on the 17th because she's gone coaching.
1 year of marriage. Look at you.
I know, right?
Time
Still
flies,
don't believe it. I know. You got kids?
Yeah,
I mean, look where we've come, Pat.
So here's where we're going to start. Obviously, we're going to go free agency, player by player, that kind of thing of the people that we want to talk about. We will do a re-up come Thursday on the Pat Mayo Experience with me, Jeff, and Cust for a more insane version of what has happened both day one in free agency and what's happened to catch up the rest of the time. But I really want to get ahead of this because it's one of the craziest first days of free agency I remember. But I want to talk about a trade. Your New York Giants trade for Brian Burns. No, they didn't?
No, not my New York Giants. They haven't been my New York Giants since the 2023 draft. We've already established this. They're gone. They're off they are off my favorites on Bleacher Report. That's all you need to know.
Oh well, they're losing sleep at night here. They give up they give up a second and a 5th rounder to acquire Burns and then re-sign him to a $150 million deal. Do you like this move for what they're doing?
You care about the Giants, you have to like the move, I guess. But no, honestly, if I actually still cared about them, this is why I stopped. Because what is the point of this deal? From a real life standpoint, sure, yes, their defense was one of the worst. Their offense was one of the worst. Getting after the quarterback, they were one of the worst. We still know all this stuff because we bring that up on your show all year long about pressure against the quarterback and all these type of things when we're looking at streamers. But it's the same thing we did before with Saquon Barkley for them. Like, why are you signing a franchise player to a mega contract and trading away a 2nd rounder, which I get it. The value is definitely there for what they got in Burns. But yeah, sure, 26 going on 27. Okay, are they a Super Bowl contending team? No. Are they a year or two away from being a Super Bowl contending team? Probably not. You're going to waste the best years of his life, just like you wasted the best years of Saquon Barkley's life. So I get it's a need, and the value was great, but it doesn't make sense. This is why I stopped caring about the Giants. This is why I go Texans since 2023.
So, I mean, I on the surface agree with you because I said the same thing about Montez Sweat when he got traded to the Bears in a very similar type of deal where they traded a second and I think a fifth, and they ended up re-signing him to a mega contract. And it actually did like significantly improve their defense as the rest of the season went along. So maybe they think getting a stud on defense can fill a lot of holes for them where they can then concentrate on the offensive side of the ball and try to get better quickly. Because we've seen teams that, look, we didn't think had any chance of being good, get good super quick. Like your mighty Texans. They were just one quarterback away, as it turned out.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. And the Giants are still a quarterback away and a running back away, and they just lost the top five safety.
Running back away, the Texans were just a quarterback away and a running back away. They draft Stroud, they signed Singletary. Singletary just signs with the Giants, so problem solved.
That's a problem solved. And wide receivers away and tight ends away. No, like, again, and they let the top five safety in the league, the best safety in the market, go to the Packers. They didn't even franchise and let him walk for nothing. So again, my point being is like jokes aside of why I legitimately don't care about them anymore, because I'd be right now infuriated with what they're doing. But I get it. I get from a real life standpoint. I get it. Yeah, sure. The defense can fix a lot of issues if you get after the quarterback. And hell, you want to talk positively about it? Go back to the Giants winning the Super Bowls both times. What did they do? They had okay secondaries, and they were able to just kind of sit back and play because they got so much pressure after the quarterback just rushing four. Sometimes a fifth really killed things for the offenses. And maybe they're trying to replicate that. But again, they are not just one or two pieces away. They are multiple pieces away. But it was a shocking move. It's just honestly shocking more so from the Panthers side of it, when they just could have gotten 2 firsts last year from the Rams if they just would have traded them.
Yeah, this is the thing that I don't understand. What the hell were they doing?
Well, it's Tepper. I mean, it's the same guys throwing drinks at fans. So,
the only thing that I can wrap my mind around with this is that Burns told them, like, there's zero chance. You can franchise me. I'm not even going to play. So trade me now.
I mean, I could see that as that, like, it was basically, I'm going to hold out. I'm not going to sit out week one. Who recently did that? Actually sat out into the season while still under contract, not even franchised.
Wasn't it Jones on Kansas City? Chris Jones?
Was it?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year.
I think, yeah.
It worked.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
He got his money and another Super Bowl. Turned out pretty good, I think.
Yeah, well, Burns, you got your money. At least you got one of the two.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could come down to as well, like it's not that the Giants are a poverty franchise, but who the hell really wants to sign with the Giants right now? That if Burns was available to sign there, you just say, well, let's go get this guy. He's really good. That's step one.
I think that's telling. I think that's telling too, is because if you look at the offensive lineman they signed today, it's kind of like that third tier. I mean, honestly, Runyon is the best one, and he was already losing snaps on the Packers offensive line, so they're kind of like already third. Here's the most telling part, Pat. I put out a poll earlier today. I said you're forced to be a fan of one of these four teams. It was Commanders, Giants, Jets, and Panthers. You know who came in last? The Giants. Well, that's where they are at this point.
Yeah, but that's not an accurate poll. Mainly because they probably have, outside of the Packers, probably have the largest. Where the Packers weren't included in that, so they most definitely have basically the largest fan base, probably, of all those teams in the poll, and all those fans.
Yeah, but what if they vote for themselves?
Yeah, they're probably disgruntled at the moment, and fans like being. You're basically a self-loathing Giants fan. The moment the Giants are good, you're going to be back.
Oh, no, I said the only way I'm going to do it, and you might have to tune in, the only way I will do this is, and I will sing Let It Go, because I will let it go on the podcast, is if the Giants draft Jaden Daniels. I don't want Drake May. I don't want a Bo Nix, because if you like Kenny Pickett, you're going to love some Bo Nix. I don't want to go down that route, but if they draft Jaden Daniels and they are actually looking towards the future, I will let it go, and I will forgive them. I don't see that happening, though.
Do you forgive them for getting rid of Saquon Barkley, who's now a Philadelphia?
No,
Eagle?
Good for Barkley. I'm glad. I am glad. I didn't want him to go to the Eagles because I hate the Eagles in general. That probably comes from being a Giants fan since I was a kid. But I really wanted. Hey, I kept saying Barkley going to the Texans for the past month plus. I would have loved it. But I am glad he got out of there, and I'm glad he took it to Tiki Barber on Twitter. Just shut up, Tiki.
Yeah, what the hell was Tiki going on about? Just, dude, you're not a real Giant. Like, okay, thanks, Tiki.
Yeah, you're dead to me.
Kicked off NBC for dropping a C-bomb on a former Olympian on live TV. So classy guy, that Tiki Barber.
Wait. A see you next Thursday?
Yeah.
Is that what he dropped?
Yeah, during the Olympic coverage in 2010, I think.
I didn't know that.
Total medal. See you next Tuesday.
Wow. I never knew that. But yeah, so like nobody cares about you, Tiki Barber. Sorry.
Also, that clip has been like scrubbed from the internet. I remember watching it live with Cust on NBC during the Winter Olympics. I think it was during the Vancouver Olympics. That's why I was watching it, because I was an hour away from Vancouver at the time. But yeah, I remember it very vividly, him saying it and then like smirking at the camera like it was the most hilarious thing that was ever said, which it kind of was. But then there was no Tiki Barber for like 3 years out of nowhere, and now he's back and he's doing like
what a
E-team
shock
commentary.
A shocker there. Yeah, and going off on Barkley no longer being, you're dead to the team and you're dead to me and you're dead. Who cares?
So now that Jason Kelsey's retired, what do you make of the Eagles' offensive line? So do you think this is why they get Barkley, someone explosive, so they just can try to keep Hurts healthy?
I think that's part of it. I also think that, whether or not, look, we're talking about generational talent at center, which is crazy to say, but you lose that. Of course, it's going to be a drop off, but their offensive line is still good enough that you're going from a team that, like I tweeted out, you have combined between Swift and Gainwell last year, almost double up Barkley in goal line and goal to go touches. So you get that doubling for Barkley. They're signing him and they will use him as a bell cow. Whether or not there's a drop off at center, I still think that you put Barkley right back inside the top 5 conversation. And honestly, if he starts pushing the heels of that top 3, where he's behind Christian McCaffrey in that next group, whether it's Kyren, him, or whoever else you want to put there with the Eagles, I think that's instead like this. They didn't sign him to be like, all right, let's play the Gainwell game where he gets 8 carries inside the 5-yard line this week. So he's going to get all the touches. You give bell cow Barkley to bell cow Eagles, top 5. Like, there's not even a question in my mind.
Can you remember a crazier running back signing day?
No, especially in this day and age. Like, I legitimately did not expect this, because it was perfect timing for the veterans, because this is one of the weakest running back draft classes we've had in years. All that being said, they hit at the same time. It was Barkley, Pollard, Jacobs, Henry hasn't been signed yet, but Swift, Edwards, your boy. I mean, there's a lot out there where I was expecting it to take 2-3 days for a couple of the big dominoes to fall, and then maybe another week, and some of these guys were going to be hanging out there because the NFL undervalued. I wonder if it was just partly because the cap went up so much. It's not like these contracts for the running backs are huge, but getting the 3 years, 8 per, 10 per, and then of course Barkley about 12 on average per year. I don't know if those would have happened if it wasn't for the cap going as much as it did. And then I think part of it was what we're seeing right now is who wants to be the last man standing. And I think that's what we're looking at, is that the Texans are kind of like, do we just go with what we have and draft somebody? The Ravens are kind of like, are we going to really do Derrick Henry? Do we really need to pay Derrick Henry? We could produce anybody at this backfield. So I think that's the thing, is that I wonder if part of it too was from the free agents not wanting to be left standing, and the teams not wanting to be left standing out there, which is now what you have in Henry and kind of like the Ravens.
Yeah, well, do you think that's good for the amount of money that Henry can command, or do you think there'll be a bidding war for him, or do you think it's going to be a situation where teams are just going to wait him out? Because it seems like Houston could use someone. It seems like, Dallas could probably use someone. Maybe they'll re-sign Zeke. Who knows? They can sign Derrick Henry. Baltimore could sign Derrick Henry. Like, there are suitors out there for him, or are people kind of worried that he's kind of washed?
I think it's more the latter.
Really?
I could see Henry getting one of those pseudo 2 to 3 year deals that really equates to like a 1 year because of what's guaranteed. Like, kind of like, all right, here's 3 for 30 with 11 guaranteed. Like that's kind of what I could see happening.
He gets the Baker Mayfield running back contract then?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
So Mayfield re-signs with the Bucks, but it's essentially a 1 year deal.
Yeah. It's you can kind of maybe argue for 2, but it is, for all intents and purposes, it's basically another bridge situation, another 1 year. Jacoby Brissett got the 1 year bridge with the Patriots. Minshew basically got the bridge deal. So there's a couple bridges, and I think Mayfield, if you actually break it down, it's a 1 year bridge deal.
It is, and like it would be good for the Bucks. Like if he does play well again this year, maybe he can restructure and get more money. And I think they're on the hook for him for $10 million guaranteed next year. So that's really about it. If they have to cut him, they have to cut him. It's sort of like the better version of that Geno Smith deal that the Seahawks gave him last offseason.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. You can get into the pick'em games. You can go higher or lower of a stat total for any games during the week for any of the sports that are offered. You can win up to 100 times your money in a single night. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'ementary. Or if you really want to start getting down on football right now, go to the draft lobby, get into the best ball lobby, and start cranking out some best ball drafts. Use code MAYO and get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant pick'em special. Plus, hit the description to get into that draw right now for $5,000. You need an underdog handle to get in. The survey is only 15 seconds long, so you may as well do it signing up to Underdog Fantasy with code MAYO. Cousins goes to the Falcons. I did not see that. I mean, you heard rumblings about it, but I didn't think they would pull the trigger on that much money for Kirk Cousins coming off the Achilles tear. Like, Achilles tear, knee tear, it's Achilles tear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the surprising part about it. So you saw the rumbling news that they were looking at houses in Atlanta, and I was like, that's where his wife is from. His wife is from Marietta. Like, they could be thinking after he retires, like, let's just make this our final house type of thing. And so I was kind of with you. We're like, yeah, okay, I could see it, but is it really going to happen? And then all of a sudden, the reports started coming in, and then late last night we got the Diana Rossini report there. I'm like, hey, don't be surprised if it happens tomorrow. And I pre-wrote it up. I had a paragraph already ready to go today because it sounded like it was going to be that real last night, and it did. I was not expecting the money you just talked about. If he gets all the money in this deal, he's going to finish with $400 million that he's made after the Commanders. Well, at the time it wasn't the Commanders, as you know, but look, this is great for Drake London and Kyle Pitts. This is very simple. Arthur Smith is already gone. Drake London, top 15 is in play. Honestly, wide receiver 1 is in play. You're talking about talent. Now, like, we're talking today. They draft somebody in the first round again and shock us. Like, they go draft like Malik Neighbors and shock us. Then, of course, we have a whole nother conversation. But as of today, Kyle Pitts is finally going to be the Kyle Pitts we want him to be, top 5 tight end. Drake London's top 15. Bijan Robinson, yay. We don't have to worry about too much spelling with Tyler Algier with no Arthur Smith. And it's guns up, fires up, everything's good. I think the biggest thing to take away from this, Pat, is that Kirk Cousins is going to be undervalued in fantasy again. He's been top 12 3 of the last 4 years, actually top 10 3 of the last 4 years, also in points per game.
Are we sure he's going to be the same guy coming off this injury?
No, and I think that's why he's going to be a value again, is because people are going to be worried about that.
There could be just he sucks.
But even if you take the bad year out of the last 4 years, he was still QB 14. Like, worst case, he's QB 15.
But he's coming off a massive injury. He's not a young man here. I mean, not everyone can just be Aaron Rodgers, rub healing crystals all over themselves and be fine, yet still not play. Like,
I was going to say that he just still didn't play.
Yeah, like it's not that I don't think that Cousins can come back and be himself, but there is that part of it too, where he just might not ever be the same.
I don't disagree with you on that, but I think we're assuming he's fine. Like this is a long ways off. We have 4+ months before we even start talking about him being on the field. So,
like, are we sure he's going to be ready for week 1?
All reports are he is.
Okay.
Now is he 100%? There, you're bringing up a valid point, and that's the downside. But where I say a value is something that you and I talk about in the preseason every single year is once we get past those top 7, 8, or whatever ends up being the drop off this year at quarterback, I don't care about the others. So I will take Kirk Cousins if he's QB 14 or 15 because of the risk, and be like, all right. You know what? This is the year. He doesn't bounce back. He's not great. He's not top 10. All right, well, guess what? I'll take another flyer on a Sam Howell type that's out there or some other guy, because that's my point about being the value, is that he's not going to be drafted QB 10. I'm not drafting QB 10 anyway, because I don't ever draft QB 10. You don't ever draft QB 10. We're always the same in that area, is that we get one of those top 2 tiers, and then we sit out and try to take a flyer who could reach the top 10.
Do you think this makes the Falcons, I mean, they'll probably be listed as the favorites in the NFC South. Do you think it actually makes them like real life favorites?
Yeah, the South?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, why are they better than the
South.
Bucs? Like, the Bucs just traded Carlton Davis to the Lions, but do you really expect them to be all that different?
Well, the Bucs still don't really have that good of a defense. It's okay.
But neither do the Falcons, they're still the Falcons.
You love the Falcons defense.
I do like, I like the Falcons defense more than I like the Falcons offense. I like the Falcons defense for a fantasy purpose. Like, I think that they have some good players on it who can generate turnovers and go the other way. I'm just still not sold that this offense is going to be any good. Like, just
I am. I think, like, this, if you're talking,
maybe Maybe it was the offensive coordinator. Maybe it was the lack of quarterback play. Maybe Drake London and Kyle Pitts just aren't all that great.
I think it's the former by far. I think it's Arthur Smith. I think it's the way this organization used their pieces. I mean, you don't spend what you spend on these players and then basically dick around with them. Now, let's be honest with it. Like they're just kind of like playing in the sandbox with these guys. Arthur Smith is gone. They are. Well, you brought it up before. This the Houston Texans. They're a quarterback away. There was flashes there with Ritter, and then flashes again with Heineke. There was like, oh, you know what? This team could be one of those upset surprise teams. You put arguably a top 10 quarterback again. Big risk. We're talking as of today, but we're talking about somebody who over the last 4 seasons averaged 260 yards and nearly 2 touchdowns per game. That if he just comes in, he's 90% of what he was, and you throw in a quarterback who knows how to play in this team, where are the holes? Maybe an offensive lineman, maybe some linebacker help, but I mean, this is probably the most complete team in the NFC South.
Yeah, in the NFC South, maybe, but it's still a crap division.
You put them in the NFC East,
But I mean, listen, I want a huge bet on the Bucs this year to win the NFC South at 10-1. Why? Because I didn't believe that anyone else in the division was actually any good. And this does improve Atlanta. I'm not sold on them being like great by any means. Like no holes is a stretch that they might just not have. They might have a lot of quote unquote fantasy talent on paper. I still want to see this translate to real life at some point.
Sure. And if you told me today the over-under was 8.5 wins, I would just say pass. I'll take a different team.
Okay. Russell Wilson signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is he their starter?
Yeah. Yes. He is an upgrade over Kenny Pickett.
Oh, yeah.
Is he a starter for the entire year? That's one I wouldn't bet on. Like, because he has 2 or 3 bad games, they'll give Pickett another shot. Like, they drafted Pickett really high for what they paid for what they got. And they're going to give him a chance to see if Wilson falters. This real life, this is an amazing move. $1.2 million for a potential starting quarterback who is just last year an upgrade, massive upgrade over anything you had at quarterback. Even when Trubisky played well, Wilson's still an upgrade, bigger upgrade over Pickett. But George Pickens, top 20 conversation, potentially even better. I mean, we just saw what Cortland Sutton was doing with Russell Wilson. So real life, I love the move. And again, if Russell Wilson is toast, Russell Wilson looks like trash, they're going to go back to Pickett and give him another chance. I mean, honestly, this is the value of values when it comes to talking about a bridge quarterback. This is essentially what they're doing. They're buying the Baker Mayfield time window, and hopefully they get a Baker Mayfield type performance.
I mean, I think I like Russell Wilson better than Baker Mayfield just objectively right now anyway. That I think this is a great move.
Argue much. I wouldn't argue much. I love this move.
Maybe he's washed, but now you got Arthur Smith goes there. Now he gets Russell Wilson.
Yes.
They still have what we think are dynamic receivers. We'll see at this point, but I mean, their quarterback play has been so abysmal over the past, basically since Ben went away, that this, even if Russell Wilson's as good as he was last year, which was like, all right, it's still a huge upgrade.
Still a massive upgrade. I love this move from a real life standpoint. I was, because reading like I was reading on the toilet. I was reading like oh look, I got clickbaited into reading one of those let's do free agency grades. The first one on the free agency grades, it was Russell Wilson a C, and I just closed it. I'm like, there's no way. You cannot objectively say they deserve a C for that signing when it cost them $1.2 million to potentially get a Baker Mayfield type season. There's no way you can call that a C.
Well, were you surprised that the Raiders ended up signing Minshew instead of just getting Russell Wilson? Like, is that an indictment on where Russell Wilson is right now, and we're not seeing that, but the NFL teams are?
Was that more the Raiders' choice, or was that more the Broncos' choice, just to send them somewhere else that wasn't within the division? Well, do we know how real the talks were?
Well, I don't know, and it's not like they really sent him anywhere. Didn't they cut him and he signed?
Yeah.
So he could have signed with anyone.
Okay, so you're saying that the Raiders didn't go in on him once he was cut?
Yeah, they just spent $25 million, 15 guaranteed on Minshew when they could have had Russell Wilson for $2 million. And maybe it's that. And maybe it's that the Raiders want to draft someone. They want to have an open competition, and Russell Wilson wanted to go wherever it is that he was going to start. But honestly, like, I know that Cousins is way better than Russell Wilson at this point, but how much better is he than Russell Wilson at this point?
Cousins?
Yeah.
Or Minshew?
Cousins.
I still say If we were doing tiers, I could see him on
I don't
a
even care
higher
about
tier.
fantasy. I just care about like
No, I know.
on your team as a real life quarterback. Would you rather have Kirk Cousins 4 years, $180 million, or Russell Wilson
no, you
1
threw
year,
that.
$2 million?
Well, because Kirk Cousins coming off an injury and 36. They said I mean, I would not want to invest that kind of money in Kirk Cousins and hoping that he continues to, fight father time coming off of the Achilles. So yeah, the 1.2 million, I'm always going to take that.
And even if you get it wrong, who cares? You just cut him or bench him or do whatever.
Yeah,
It's not that big of a deal.
Going to the draft next year. Yeah, so that's
if he sucks, it could be doubly great. Then you get a super high pick.
Yeah. That's why I'm kind of wondering if that's what the Giants are trying to do. Like, we're stuck with Daniel Jones. We might as well get a top 3 pick next year.
Well, that would have been an interesting. I guess the Giants don't really have any sort of infrastructure offense that Russell Wilson could have elevated. But if you think that
they were talking to him,
if you think that he's better than Daniel Jones, just sign him for nothing and start him over Daniel Jones. When they can get out of Daniel Jones next year, right? Next offseason?
Yep. Next year, it's a massive debt that they essentially, for all intents and purposes, they can't this year. They were talking, but I think it kind of leans to what you were talking about with the Russell Wilson side of it, is that the Giants kind of checked in on him, but I'm wondering if Russ just saw that as in like, look, they're going to do whatever they can to possibly get some saving face of Daniel Jones, and I don't really have a shot here. Where if I go, to the Steelers, I am the starter. I know I'm the starter.
Maybe that was the only option that he had, was the Steelers, who were like, yeah, you can come in. There's no competition. You're the guy.
Well, and that goes back to your Raiders point. That makes that kind of curious, especially when they signed Minshew. So
yeah, you assume they bring in Minshew to compete with AOC, who's still there. And then maybe they draft someone to kind of trump both those guys. But that's on the table for Minshew right now. He's basically doing what he just did with Anthony Richardson. Like, he's there as insurance for whoever the starter is. If it is a green rookie, that maybe Minshew could start the year if that guy's not ready. And if he is ready, well, then he's a very capable hand to come in and run an offense if need be.
Right. You can talk stylistically too. There might be thoughts in their minds of like, hey, if blank is there in the draft, we draft him behind Minshew. Those two kind of fit, and we don't have to adjust too much. But Russell Wilson at this point of his career doesn't fit what they want to do stylistically. Like, I don't know, just speculating. But you bring up a valid point to say it is at least makes you raise your eyebrow on the fact of like, why didn't the Raiders kind of go after him if you were going to go sign Minshew for 2 years? It does at least make it intriguing.
Running backs, let's go back to them.
Oh my God, yeah.
Josh Jacobs, Green Bay.
Top 5.
Is everyone just top 5 now?
I think no. So I think with Barkley, Jacobs, CMC, Kyron Williams, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he's in the conversation. We're not doing rankings as of today, but before they cut Aaron Jones, I was going to say low-end RB1, like fringe RB1, just because I figured Aaron Jones would stick around and kind of be like their version of Antonio Gibson. It's just like he's going to siphon off too much that you're going to keep Josh Jacobs. But like you cut Aaron Jones, you don't have A.J. Dillon, and Josh Jacobs was, for all intents and purposes, not the most effective running back. So you're looking at, well, let's talk volume. And it's volume in the Packers offense where Aaron Jones doesn't even need 300 touches to be a top 10 running back and didn't. And Jacobs gets used in the passing game. Obviously, they draft someone in the 3rd round, 2nd rounds of significance, surprise us with a signing of somebody that's still left out there. This could go right back out the window. But you're talking volume. That's really what it comes down to. I guess the best thing would say is like maybe top 5 is a little optimistic given how he looked last year, but worst case scenario, he's Barkley of what we just saw with the Giants, and that's RB8.
Sure. I mean, when you were listing off your top 5 guys there, what about the Super Bowl winning Atlanta Falcons and Bijan Robinson?
Yeah, that's a good point. He could be in the conversation. If they don't use Tyler Algier, if you tell me bell cow Bijan versus bell cow Josh Jacobs, I'll take Bijan Robinson.
Are we getting bell cow Tony Pollard in Tennessee? The signing that made the least amount of sense to me this week?
Why? Because he's essentially just older Tajay Spears?
What the hell do the Titans need Tony Pollard for?
I all my Tajay Spears dynasty shares went up in smoke, but I still think he's going to be involved. I actually just think this is going to be kind of like a 60-40 split. I don't know that Pollard's going to be as bell cowy as people think he is.
I don't even think I think you're right. I don't think he is going to be a bell cow. I just don't understand the signing. Like, why bring in Tony Pollard? If you're the Titans and you're probably going to suck, Why are you spending money at running back for a part-time guy?
I can't explain it. This is the same team that traded away AJ Brown. So I mean, like, do we really try to explain the Titans? Look at how many mistakes they've been making over the years. That's just, I think that might be the answer at this point. Is they're the new Jets? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be the new, they'll end up with Aaron Rodgers in 3 years then.
45, 46 years, Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what horse stuff is he rubbing on him to still play at that time.
Yeah, we'll see. So something new, something we don't even know about at this point. But I'm surprised the Jets didn't do anything yet.
Legit nothing.
Like, good patience on their part because they have money.
They do. And I'm surprised that they didn't get involved. Like, I don't know. The offensive linemen have been going insane with these contracts. So just draft offensive linemen, man. I don't even care if you have backups that you can't use. Just the depth in the NFL at this point. But that being said, I'm surprised they didn't get involved somewhere. Like, if you were really thinking, hey, we have money, but we're not going to go after the top tier, the top end ones that we just saw, like even the re-signing of the Patriots guy, you could have at least done what the Giants did and, like, you know, thrown a little bit at like Runyon and then the guy from the Raiders just to get some depth. I'm just surprised they didn't go off their offensive line at all so far.
Yeah. All right. So I got 4 more running backs before we get to Ekeler. Devin Singletary goes to the Giants. Gus Edwards goes to the Chargers from Harbaugh to Harbaugh. Antonio Gibson goes to the Patriots. And then DeAndre Swift goes to the Bears. Who is the best of those 4 signings?
Should I take none?
It's probably Singletary,
I'd say.
weirdly enough.
I'd take your boy Gus Bus. Just because I could see, like, let's just kind of pivot into the what you like to do a lot of times. Like, let's play scenarios. Let's write the story of the best case scenarios for all of them. Best case scenario: Devin Singletary, Brian Dable uses him like he did with the Bills, and he finishes as what, RB 18? Okay, cool, whatever. Antonio Gibson. He's never going to be the lead. Even if Stevenson gets hurt, he's going to be mixing time. Swift will be the lead.
Really?
But what? Yeah, he'll be
Sure.
the lead with. Yeah, but no, the lead. But it's not going to be 80%. Roshan Johnson is going to still be involved. Even if they relegate Khalil Herbert to complete backup, you get 4 touches a game. Swift will still be the lead. But my point being is that it still can't even as the lead, it can't get better than what he just did last year, which was actually his worst season in fantasy points per game. For a lot of, I think that surprises a lot of people. Swift is coming off his worst fantasy points per game, despite scoring the most that he has of his career at 11.4. That's his best case scenario, which is still low end RB2. So I say all this to say, your boy Gus Bus, Jamal Williams, 2022, like, he could spill into 12, 15 touchdowns on only 1,000 yards. So I think of all in the Greg Roman offense, Harbaugh, and then with Greg Roman and how many times they're going to run the ball, I mean, that the Gus could just fall into 250 carries and double-digit touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I can most definitely see that. I mean, there's a chance that he's their lead back too, isn't there?
I think as of right now he is.
Do you think they're really going to go and spend draft capital on running backs? Like, they went... I saw that Seattle made their decision. They re-signed Noah Fant at tight end, and they let Parkinson walk. They let Will Disley walk. I think Will Disley went to the Chargers. Like, they're beefing up to run the ball 3,000 times this year.
They really are. And so there, I say is, but I was saying is in, like, how much of a competition do I think they could even potentially draft, like, everybody keeps pointing to it, Blake Corum. They just bring in the Michigan dude and just bring him in, and then, like, well, now you have a replication of Gus Edwards. So do you kind of split that kind of similar work? You keep talking for a second. I got to grab a towel. Barkley's so upset about the signing today, she pissed on the carpet. So hold on one second while I get a towel.
I hope it was hardwood floor, not carpet.
No, it was actually carpet.
Oh no! So remember, you don't rub, you dab. No rubbing, dabbing.
Oh no, like a full on towel and stand on the towel to absorb all of it, like get it all up. So
All right, so yeah.
you know what the best part is? We
What?
just rented a carpet cleaner on a Saturday and just did the entire carpet.
See, there's the thing. Barkley thought it was so good, or maybe Barkley was like, "Yeah, you didn't do that great of a job. Let me encourage Jake to re-clean his carpets."
To do it a second time, spend the money again. Yeah.
Exactly. That's where he's at. Let's talk Austin Ekeler. He's going to the Washington Commandos. Brian Robinson's still there. Obviously, they let Antonio Gibson walk and go to New England. It was for basically no money. Do you think people, this might not be maybe it is a conspiracy theory. I don't know. Like Ekeler, they don't know if he can hold up or not. I don't think that people in the NFL, like organizationally, like that he does a fantasy football podcast every week.
You think that's part of it?
I think it is.
Like
it very much seems like he's trying to be a part of the media and not be a part of a football team.
I could see that part of like the media, that like in media while you're still playing kind of bothers them. And then also, like you said, you're talking fantasy and like you're playing at the same time. Look, to be honest, it was obviously a down year. Obviously, he's not peak Austin Ekeler, but even if you look at last year, he was RB22. Oh, by the way, 0.1 behind his new teammate in fantasy points per game. He still had 12 fantasy points per game. And what was, let's be honest, a miserable season. Like, even when he came back, he did not look 100%. Whether he's getting screwed over by the NFL because of this, because of what you talk about being in the media while he's playing, talking fantasy while he's playing, that is aside, I think you're coming into, it's Kingsbury's offense now. You're going to get some dumps. You're going to get a lot of dump offs potentially. I think you could be looking at a bounce back season, but not anywhere what he was with the Chargers. I think the best case scenario, you're kind of looking at last year and saying Tony Pollard, honestly. Like, I think he could put up a Tony Pollard season, which would be like RB2.
Note to self, don't draft 3rd overall. Check. My research is done.
I mean, like, I'm kind of like looking down the list of names here, and I'm trying to compare a season to, like, basically DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard last year, which makes him a low mid RB2. And because the thing is Brian Robinson's going to be involved. He's going to get his goal line carries. Brian Robinson's a good running back, had injuries of his own. This helps them both. You know what? Actually, just thinking of it, Pat, is maybe what the Packers used to be with a healthy Aaron Jones and a healthy A.J. Dillon, but not as good. Like, Aaron Jones was an RB1. Austin Ekeler's an RB2, and A.J. Dillon was in the RB2 conversation, but Brian Robinson's now more of an RB2/3 because they're the lesser version of Jones and A.J. Dillon.
So I just saw a report about where Aaron Jones might go to. Where do you think that he's going to go?
I think everybody's pointing the arrows to the Cowboys.
So it's the Vikings that have first shown interest. Now, that means nothing. He could sign wherever, but I thought that was a bit surprising.
I'm going to give credit. I got to see if I'm going to find somebody here. So I got to give credit to the person. Somebody tweeted at me when I said, "No, put him on the Texans," because I'm a little tongue in cheek, just how much I'm rooting for the Texans.
Your Texans just re-signed Noah Brown.
I know. I saw that. Oh, here we go. Shout out to Bobby Pachal. The Vikings always have a weird obsession with former Packers. This was 2 hours ago. There you go. Somebody's already calling it.
I mean, he makes sense for a fit. What are the Vikings going to do at QB?
Oh, they scramble.
They were talking about signing Sam Darnold.
Scramble.
Where are they picking in the draft?
Enough that they'd have to trade up, or they'd take JJ McCarthy. So, to be clear, I'll be wrong on this if I'm wrong on this. Unlike Thor is the complete opposite. If you want us on opposite ends, Thor Nystrom, if you have it on your show, he loves some JJ McCarthy. I've jokingly called every single time on Twitter JJ McCarthy JJ McHeineke. I think that's all he is Taylor Heineke. So that being said, I don't think them taking McCarthy in the first round where they would have to take him is worth it, and they probably have to trade up. I mean, there's even talk that the Giants just take him where they're drafting. So the Vikings are, what are they, 11th-ish, 12, somewhere right around there? They have to trade up. Probably now with all the steam around of it, or hope he falls to them. But that's probably what they're looking at: is McCarthy, Darnold, whatever they can throw to God. They're going to have to scramble, like I said.
Well, now that Cousins is in Atlanta more than likely, I would guess at this point, is not going to trade for Justin Fields. Could the Vikings give up like a third for Justin Fields? Because it seems like no one wants Justin Fields.
And which I don't get, because if you look at the trades for quarterbacks over the past couple seasons, you tell me they can't even get a first. Even if it was a 2025
I will
first.
tell you they're not even coming close to getting a first.
I know, which is shocking to me. This is just like look at the trades. Look at the trades that have gone down for quarterbacks, and look at what has been given up. And you can't get Fields for a first. Like, that's just.
What are the ones that you're talking about? Like, there's the Russell Wilson trade, but you're also trading for Russell Wilson, who's probably going to the Hall of Fame. Denver talked themselves in that he was still that guy. they made a
Right.
miscalculation on that front. And it's a lot like this Burns deal with New York, where they could have got 2 firsts for him 6 months ago, but now that he's due an extension, he was probably going to hold out on Carolina. All you get is a second and a fifth. Like, once you trade for Fields, you got to pay him. So there's that baked into it too.
I understand that. So do you think they would trade within the division? That's the problem.
I mean,
too,
I think the Bears are scrambling to get anything for him right now.
I'd do it. I'd give up a second for him immediately.
I mean, I don't.
I'd do it if I was the Giants.
I honestly don't think that you need to give up a second for him right now.
Oh yeah, because you just thought they backed themselves into a corner with this. I mean, you're looking down. Let's run through real quick. I mean, the Patriots, but the Patriots are going to draft.
Maybe they end up drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. and trading for.
And they're the ones that trade. So the entire AFC North is out the window. The AFC South actually out the window unless it's the Titans, but they're talking about giving Will Levis a chance this year. The West is done. The NFC East.
I think that the Raiders still make sense, even with signing Minshew.
Do you?
Yeah, why not? Like, if they're not going to draft a quarterback, why not give up a third for Fields?
I'm with you, but then the Minshew thing it seems kind of weird.
Okay, so to throw some other teams in the mix, how about the Seahawks?
That's intriguing.
Because they're like, I would have said the Falcons, I would have said Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's clearly not doing that if they just signed Russell Wilson. Like, that's going to be what they're doing this year. So I thought Tampa would have been in the mix until they re-signed Baker. It seems like the Saints just have too much cap hell that they wouldn't be able to re-sign him anyway, especially with the Carr deal. But yeah, Vegas, the Seahawks, the Vikings now. Like, there's only so many options.
And that's really, I mean, you're kind of cut. Yeah, Patriots, and that's about it.
And I think you're right that the Patriots probably aren't going to trade for him. They're just going to draft someone.
Yeah, because why? Like, then you get that contract argument that everybody keeps having.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good argument.
It is. It's a great. Like, I kept going back to the Caleb Williams one. So like, you gotta look at it both ways too. So like, let's assume Caleb Williams is the dude. Like, he is. Then he's getting a Patrick Mahomes contract, which is even worse in 5 years.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. And that doesn't matter because he's the dude. The whole point is it's not so much about Caleb Williams. It's about finding that guy at quarterback. And I think that teams have looked at Justin Fields and said, yeah, you're pretty good, but you're not the guy. So we're not spending that money on you. We'll move on.
And that's fair, but I still think Fields has more than that. That's, and I think that's the difference that we're coming from here. Is like, I think Fields can be the guy. Not put him on that tier, no, but I think that you could take him over at least half the league. Yes, I still think he has that in him.
Yeah, but that's not the question though, and that's not where his value is currently being assessed, because you're going to have to give. And you know that the Bears are in a situation where they don't want Fields. They've made that pretty clear. They're going to take a quarterback with the first pick. So why would you give them anything for him?
No, I don't, and I don't disagree with that. That's what I'm saying. I'm just talking about the money as a whole there. So those are the really only teams. Hey, maybe even Tampa Bay. Like, hey, competition with Baker and his bridge quarterback contract.
There's got to be a team that we're missing here. Because I guess, Washington's going to take a quarterback. Philly has got a quarterback. The Jets? Yeah, Jets.
The Jets, in case Rodgers isn't done and he can't even play.
Well, I mean, he's probably fine, but there's also like Jimmy G lingering on the open market. That way, just signed Jimmy G to a $3 million deal.
Well, he's suspended. He's also suspended to start the year. I don't know, whatever it is to start. I think it's 2 games.
Rock hard Jimmy.
Oh, hey, I'll give you another. Like, not only will I apologize and bring back my Giants if they draft Jaden Daniels, if they traded for Justin Fields, I'll immediately apologize.
So I have been talking about this for ages. And it's obviously not going to happen. But I do think that there is one team that should make the move on Justin Fields and pay him immediately, and it's the Dolphins.
I thought you were going to say the Commanders.
No, they got to get rid of Tua. They can't have Tua.
But they don't have anything left. They just lost their entire team to free agency.
Untrue. Armstead re-signed, and they signed a center.
Oh, there you go. They have 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a center.
Well, this is the whole reason to trade for Fields, because Tua needs to be in a very particular offense, timing-wise, protection-wise, for everything to work. We saw what he was like the moment protection broke down. Not to say that, Fields is some sort of, hero when it comes to pressure being in his face. Dude loves getting sacked, but at least he's mobile. Tua's not mobile. And yeah, the timing routes in this McDaniel offense work better with Tua. It's just, everyone sees the ceiling for Tua. Like, what are you? Like, Tua probably had the best year he's ever going to have last year. And it
Still middle of the pack.
And it wasn't more like he was great statistically, EPA wise, yardage wise, touchdown wise. He was a great quarterback. He was like a top 5 quarterback last year. But in terms of actual wins and losses and how far he can take you, he's kind of like Chad Pennington.
I don't even know what to say.
Whereas Fields, he might be worse than Tua for the rest of his career, but I do think that there is that untapped ceiling with him where if it actually is only going to cost, like they're both in their 5th-year options right now, that if it does cost you a 3rd or a 4th rounder to get Fields, I mean, people will hate it because you're pushing Tua to the side, but you got to make that decision soon.
You do. I'm still kind of looking through and being like, where can he go? There's only 3 teams.
Denver?
That's the thing is like we just did this with Denver. What are they going to do?
Trade a 4th for Fields?
I don't think you're getting that little.
They're going to give him up for something.
They are, but I think honestly, like, I don't know. They might just bite the bullet and be like, screw it. No, we'll have Caleb Williams come in and we'll just, if he bombs and falls on his face, we'll start Justin Fields. Like,
you can't do that. That's never going to happen. You can't draft a guy 1st overall and after 4 games, if he sucks, like, oh, we're bringing back the guy that we don't have under contract now.
No, I meant week 1, as in that Caleb Williams isn't ready.
No, you can't have that competition there with your number 1.
It's happened before. No, not have the competition. No. And this is what they do wrong. No, that's what I'm saying. This is what we do. They do this wrong. Is you draft Caleb Williams. He's our week 1 starter. And if it looks that,
you can't do that. You can't do that because there's enough positive sentiment still remaining amongst Bears fans in Justin Fields right now that if he starts week 1 and has a good game, no one will ever want to see Caleb Williams. And you like when you have the number 1 pick, you need to do what the Colts did last year with Richardson. Just bring in a Minshew, a guy that no one's going to be like, man, we need to get more Minshew.
But they didn't have Fields.
Fields just him being a backup for Caleb Williams, or even starting week 1 for the Bears, it's a no-win scenario for Caleb Williams. It's a terrible idea.
Look, I'm just trying to make the best out of what the situation is that they put themselves in. I'm not disagreeing with you. There's like all options are crap. It's just what's the least amount of crap. That's basically what I'm looking at here.
It's going to be like a 3rd or 4th round pick for the.
I'm not trading Justin Fields for a 4th rounder.
Yeah, but
no way on earth.
You're not the GM. They're going to trade him.
Okay, I'm just arguing from like I just wouldn't do it.
So if let's say there's a 4th out there right now, you have to give up a 4th to get Justin Fields, or a 4th and a 6th.
I would do that in a heartbeat if I had that. Like I'd give up 2 4ths.
If you're who
of a pick, whoever.
Anyone?
The Titans. I'd start him over Will Levis. I don't believe in Will Levis. I told you I'd do it at the Giants and just, suck it up. And guess what? Daniel Jones' contract goes to the bench. Move on for the Vikings. 4ths. Do it. Heartbeat. Patriots. Hell. Patriots, do it and trade down like you always do. Trade down and then take Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, or whoever ends up being there. And then, boom, you just restructured that entire team.
This happened before today, but Jerry Judy getting traded to the Browns
means nothing.
But it looks like Flacco's going back to the Browns, right?
Yeah, so if Deshaun Watson gets hurt again?
Or Deshaun Watson they pay him $50 million guaranteed to never
to ride the bench.
Sucks.
It's not just $50 million though. That's the problem. Like his dead money for next year is like $200 million because of how they structured that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's dead money regardless. You don't have to play him.
I know, but my point is like they're no. Unless Watson is hurt or like they faking it, that's another one. They screwed themselves over with that one. Like you can't just put him on. You can't healthy Deshaun Watson to the bench.
Not only did they screw themselves over with this Deshaun Watson deal, they secretly screwed Lamar Jackson out of more money last offseason because of it.
Everyone
100%. Got too shook about the guaranteed money.
The NFL last year is just a joke from what happened to Lamar Jackson.
But there was always the out that Baltimore was going to match, and they had the option to match with the protections that they had on it, so no one really took it that seriously.
That nobody could try to even trade for him. Supposedly he was available to throw out a trade for him.
No, he was quote unquote available.
Right.
He wasn't
Right.
really available. The Ravens
But
just
nobody
would've
tried
matched
anything.
whatever.
There's 20 teams in the NFL that could use Lamar Jackson.
I tend to agree with you. It's just I think that all of them saw that as this is just a negotiation tactic from the Ravens. Unless they if they were to agree to a deal, it would have to be so lopsided in their favor that we literally cannot do it.
Yeah.
So that's the way that worked out on that one. Do you like Judy in Cleveland?
No, I don't care about Judy in Cleveland because it's only a two-man. I don't care if it's Watson or Flacco. It's only a two-man offense. It's Cooper and Njoku. If it's Watson, maybe a Judy because he replaces Njoku. The fact that Watson didn't go to Njoku as much as Flacco did. But even so, even as of today, there's no guarantee that Judy's definitively getting all the snaps over Elijah Moore. What if they just cannibalize each other and they both become non-factors? So, yeah, Judy cool. Like, they continue to underpay for wide receivers and trades, but there's no guarantee that Judy's even relevant. Even come November, he might be sitting on waiver wires across leagues.
You maybe. And then you got Cortland Sutton. He'll be the one in Denver. Will poor Tim Patrick make it at a training camp this year?
Now there's all that Marvin Mimsy time.
God.
You love some Mimsy.
Mims.
It's only his second year. Like, why are we like burying these guys
No one's
already?
burying him. All I hear about how fucking great he is. And he's not. He's not good. He just runs in a straight line real fast.
That's all it takes for some wide receivers.
I
feel
think that
bad
he has
for
a
Smith and
defined
Jigba.
role. I don't think you can roll with this guy as your wide receiver too.
Oh, no. Wait. NFL or fantasy?
NFL.
I think he can be your 2 depending on who your 3 is.
Tim Patrick?
I mean, it could be honestly, Jerry Judy as the 3 would have been fine. Like an Elijah Moore type, I think actually works. Hunter Renfrow type, I think would work. Just you need that kind of type underneath. I was gonna say he's no Puka Nacua. I actually got a sign. You can't even see it. The signed football. I got one. A Puka Nacua right above me.
There's nothing like getting a signed football from some dude half your age, Jake.
I signed helmets. Hey, okay. Well, Austin Eckler's close to my age. He's back there somewhere.
I mean, Eckler's probably going to be your co-host on All In Football next year.
Where did Eckler go? Where did I move him to? We keep moving people around. That's the problem. I forget where all these things go.
Last one. Actually,
he's right there.
it's 2 because they both went to. There he is. Yeah, there's the Eckler helmet. The Jags signed Devin Duvernay and Gabe Davis to a contract.
Okay.
So Calvin Ridley's not going to be there, is what I'm guessing.
They're supposedly still in on him.
What the hell are they doing?
It also doesn't make sense because if they sign him, the draft pick moves up around. They give up a second rounder because of it if he comes back. So I don't think they bring back Calvin Ridley just because of how many things push up against that. Like Calvin Ridley feels like I'm trying to look across the league for a team that makes sense for the Saints. But they're up against it.
Bills cut Diggs, bring in Calvin Ridley.
Cut Diggs? No.
Well, it depends on what his cap is. Josh Allen restructured today. They just got rid of Gabe Davis. They have a very poor cap situation.
They do. I can see if the Steelers really do trade away Deontay Johnson, I can see them signing him. I mean, the Broncos could use him, but
the Broncos could use a quarterback.
I mean, that's true too. Point being, as of right now, assuming there is no Ridley with the Jaguars, I think Gabe Davis goes back to 2 years ago, Gabe Davis with the Bills, and that he's going to be a wide receiver 3, and there's going to be weeks where he wins you leagues or matchups, and then there's going to be weeks where he scores 3 points. There'll be way fewer zeros. I wouldn't actually even expect a single 0 with the Jaguars as the 2, assuming no Ridley. But this puts Kirk back into that kind of low-end wide receiver 2 consistent. Jacoby Myers, Christian Kirk, just rinse and repeat, because Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk are really the volume guys. Gabe Davis is going to turn into their version of Deshaun Jackson, Devonta Smith type of thing.
Oh yeah, it's going to be exactly what it's going to be like. What happens with the Jags every year? People are going to be like, "Man, Gabe Davis is so sick. He caught 2 really long catches in the preseason, and then Zay Jones scores all the touchdowns."
You know where else I can see? I can see him going to the Chargers, but I don't know. Can they even work that with the cap?
Can they get rid of Williams? Can they cut Mike Williams?
I think they can. I thought Mike Williams was going to be gone by now. Maybe it's a June 1st situation.
Well, there is one more name to be floated out there because I do think that Ridley is probably the best receiver on the market, unless I'm really forgetting someone. But T. Higgins demanded a trade from the Bengals. Cuss says that he wants T. Higgins in New York. He's wanted every receiver so far. He wanted Devontae Adams. He wanted Mike Evans. Now he wants T. Higgins. I didn't realize that, for a team that he has told me is a quote-unquote bomb squad every single year, he really seems to want all these receivers.
It seems to. There's a lot of them. Oh, so this is why I'm surprised. This has to be a June 1st situation. So Mike Williams' cap hit is 32.4. Dead cap is 12.4. There's no way they don't get rid of him to save that $20 million. I just, right? Am I wrong in assuming that? Like they got to move on from him.
This is a situation where tune in on Thursday and Feinberg will have this answer for me because he'll know every detail about every contract on the Chargers, and that's all he'll know about. So he'll probably be the guy to talk to about this. But.
I should have taken a picture of the dude that we went to the AEW show with. He looked a lot like Feinberg. Like as soon as I saw him, I was like, did Jeff come down? No, Jeff was coming down to watch an AEW wrestling show. This thing's last match. But anyway, sorry. The Calvin Ridley is going to be intriguing to see where he goes, just because I think most places we just have to consider. Like, let me turn a question to your way, Pat. Is there anywhere you could see him landing where you say, you know what, definitively top 20, like people want him to be with the Jaguars? Like, I think wherever he ends up, he's going to be in the wide receiver 3 conversation now.
He could just end up somewhere, and that would be the case. Arizona?
Is that the one place? That's
that
a
was
good
the
call.
first one
That
that sprung to mind. Like, he's better than Hollywood Brown.
Well, Hollywood Brown's gone anyway.
Well, there you go.
Unless they bring him back.
So boom, there you go. He'd be the number 1 there, so he'd probably be top 20 because he's better than Hollywood Brown, and Hollywood Brown was like right around. Yeah. At least in our minds, that's where he was. That's not actually where he was, but with a healthy Kyler Murray, maybe that's a spot for him.
Unless they draft Marvin Harrison, and then he's just
listen. This is what we're talking about right now. Unless they draft 8 guys at receiver and sign 3 others, like I don't know.
I'm just kind of seeing where else. Detroit? Are we done with the Jameson Williams thing already?
No, I mean, he was playing more snaps towards the end of the year. He's probably, and even
Dave
Campbell kind of came out and gave him like sort of like the. What about the Chargers?
What about the Chiefs?
Well, yeah, that's a good answer.
They've been screwing around ever since they got rid of Tyreek Hill, basically doing the Packers old with the Aaron Rodgers of like, yeah, we'll just figure it out with Rashee Rice, and we'll just figure it out with Sky Moore. We'll just figure it out. It's Patrick Mahomes.
In fairness, they did figure it out. They won the Super Bowl.
I know that's the problem. It's like it keeps working for them.
Who else? Panthers,
Titans,
Panthers, Bears, and I guess the Bears have DJ Moore. That you wouldn't be that comfortable with that. Yeah, Arizona. When can the Rams cut Cooper Kupp?
I don't know, can they?
I don't know. I was just like, maybe he's better a year after the year after the injury. Like he looked bad last year.
He did look like he was hurting.
But he got hurt week 1 too. I always forget that.
They do have
leading up to week 1. He hurt his hamstring. He just wasn't the same all year. And then Puka was awesome.
It's not till 2025. His dead cap is 47, and then it's 17 next year.
Yeah, so there's limited options to go in and be like the clear number 1 on a team, and most of them are bad situations. I would say Arizona is probably his best situation.
What if he goes? Yeah, I was just about to say, what if he goes to the Cowboys as the 2?
Yeah, I mean he would be good, but like, would he generate enough volume to be better than what Brendan Cooks did last year, who was pretty good?
That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I don't know that he gets past being a wide receiver 3 unless it's that glorious Chiefs situation, honestly, or like you said, the Cardinals, and they don't draft Marvin Harrison. Those would probably be the 2 situations.
Yeah. All right. I think that's good for day 1. A lot happened day 1, man.
I know a lot. Good timing too. Nicole just finished the bath, so got wife time.
There we are. Are you doing shows this week?
Yep, I got 2 this week. Actually, depending on when this comes out, tomorrow, Tuesday with
release
Meanie.
it right away. Get this shit
okay,
out.
so there you go. Tomorrow Tuesday with Meanie, and then maybe Wednesday, depending on what Watch Tuesday's going to be like a snooze fest. It's going to be like long snapper signed, the end.
theathletic.com, All In Football, and at All In Kid on the X Machine for Jake Ciely. You can follow me at the PME on Twitter. Subscribe to my newsletter. It's completely free. I'll be back for football on Thursday. I got golf in between. But now that the show is presented by Underdog Fantasy, you can go to Underdog Fantasy right now. Use code MAYO, get a deposit match of up to $100. So if you do that, you can go do the survey. If you already have an Underdog handle, you can go do the survey as well and get in a draw for $1,000. 5 prizes of $1,000 apiece being given out after the conclusion of the Players' Championship on Sunday evening. So please go do that and help out the show right now. Down in the description, okay? Smash the like. You're here too. I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!